There must be a democratic revolution. Obasanjo had visited Paris and was flying back from Paris to Nigeria. I was in this hotel because I had told him earlier on that something was being planned, and he denied that he didn't have an idea about Tottenham.
All right, our guest today is Chief Dan Ulasi. Let's start with the movement for the freeing of Nnamdi Kanu. There is a movement planning a peaceful protest to release Nnamdi Kanu. What's your take? Do you endorse this particular movement?
Well, I will only be grateful to God that such a thing is coming up. Nnamdi Kanu regards me as his uncle, regards me as his elder brother. I've gone to see him at the DSS 3 times. I was at the court where the Court of Appeal gave judgment in his favor. I was at the Supreme Court where the Supreme Court, 9 out of 10 statements, set him free and only said they should go back to first court again for trial. That's an unprecedented move in the judiciary process in this country. You can't understand that they condemned everything the federal government ever did against him, and yet still they will go back for trial. So it is one very touchy issue to me personally, because that's a very brilliant Nigerian that this government or previous government that started this nonsense, they are just wasting him. And you don't know, and this is why things are not working. Ask me, what has Nnamdi Kanu really done? Because he is talking about freedom and appreciation of his people. That's a summary of what he's doing. Tell me what he's doing. Is it worse than what is happening today in Zamfara? That I hear there's a new Boko Haram group called Wolo Wolo or something. I saw it on AIT News. They have taken over the whole state. Northeast is gone, in scatters. Now they're attacking, what is it called, Plateau. I can see in the news now that the Senate is, the Congress of America is discussing the issue of Christian massacre in Nigeria. They want to find out because there's a report now, a debate going on in the American Senate about that incident. Now there's real crisis in this country, and the president appears as if nothing is going on. Look at the recent killing in Benue State, up to today unexplained. There's more than how many hundreds killed in Plateau State, unexplained. Zamfara is almost taking over. Our governor can't even, I think he's running Zamfara from Kaduna. So when you talk about that, in all these circumstances, has Nnamdi Kanu done anything that is almost 1% of what is going on in the rest of the country? Apart from occasional stops and gyration. Tell me what is happening in the Southeast. In fact, the Southeast might be the most peaceful place, apart from this occasional stuff of people kidnapping one thing or the other. And they do it as a result of, protest on Nnamdi Kanu. There's a pretext to commit crime because Nnamdi Kanu is held. If this was a fairly intelligent government, if they release Nnamdi Kanu today, there will be 95% peace in the Southeast, and that will affect the rest of the country.
Why do we think the Southeast governments are not key or doing much to free Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, that's a very difficult question for one to answer, in the sense that one would have expected what you said to be the factualization of the situation. But of all these governors, only Soludo of Anambra State had gone to DSS once to see him, if I'm not wrong, about a year or 2 years ago. He's gone there to see him, and after that, maybe his colleagues advised him not to get involved. Why are they afraid? The young man is very popular in the Southeast. Let me not extend it to the rest of the country. If Nnamdi Kanu comes out today, Igbos will do 90% of what he tells them to do, to the interest, not just in Igbo interest, but the Nigerian interest. Because what has he spoken about in the past? Mistreatment of his people. And if that is continuous and the rest of the country don't want the Igbos, then let them allow them go. This is the summary of what he's saying. How can you can't be shorter than me and be taller than me at the same time? This is the summary of Nnamdi Kanu's theory. So he didn't start today. Hazurike has done the same thing. There's so many other people. It was the concept of Odumegwu Ojukwu himself. If you don't want your people, then let them go. And as you know, when people talk of let them go, it appears we are packing our luggage and going. Look at the contiguity. Look at Nsukka and Benue. There's no place anybody is going. It's the same country. The same marketing, the same. So much of intermarriages has taken place. All we're saying that there is no governance. The summary is that there is no governance. That's what is causing all the problem. The problem of corruption has become both phenotypically and genotypically specific. That's nothing. It's a genetic problem now. And it is that crisis that government is not even ashamed that they said 139 million Nigerians very poor in a country of plenty. And my president junkets to Paris, from there to what is it called, to Dubai. I have never seen a group of people that are shameless. In a country, 774 local governments, I challenge them. Let them tell you where water is running. Where? Water. So people are dying because of waterborne diseases, and they don't care. And it's even more, you see, like I was saying before we started this, if these governors were sons of Ahmadu Bello, or M.I. Okpara, or Azikiwe, or Awolowo, they will say, oh, they had determined their future. They are coming from a position, a background of wealth. But tell me which of these governors not coming from a very poor environment? Most of them, their parents have never been heard of. Most of them, when you hear the history of how they managed to go to secondary school, and finally God bless them, they become governors. So what they are paying back to society is stealing up money. I was telling somebody this morning who confronted me, Dan, what do we do? What do we do? Lead a democratic revolution. I said, I don't have the resources. I can't. I've been in PDP, not even director, because I won't comply with what they said. Yesterday we had a National Reconciliation Committee meeting. Out of 25 members, only 8 were there. So it means that part of those who have joined APC, majority are coming out from PDP. So going to APC, what is the fundamental reason why you go to? It's because if you're moving from A to B, B must be better than A. So what has APC done that should be exciting to anybody to want to leave PDP? Because PDP has a track record under Obasanjo that was debt relief that saved millions of lives in this country. Since then, what has happened? 8 years of Muhammad Buhari was a disaster in this country. I said it on this channel and other channels, even when he was in government. It was a disaster. There was no governance. And this president, when he was campaigning, said he was going to continue from where Buhari stopped. He's now seen the true nature of where Buhari stopped. How beautiful where Buhari stopped is for the rest of the country. Isn't that a tragedy? In 21st century Nigeria, with everything God has given us, we don't know where we are beginning and where. If you don't know where you're starting, how do you know where you're going? And we take it as a matter of routine. Nothing is going. It's in our case, they say, let's leave it for God. So we are the only people God created. If we decide to be foolish, then He will be foolish with us.
All right, we'll return to party politics. But the case of Nnamdi Kanu, why do you think he's still being held? In all that we've seen, appeal court released him, Supreme Court admitted that yes, but go back. Why do you think
that is still a battle of the continuation of the Nigerian Civil War? The war has not ended. I think it was on China's TV. I had an interview. Like I said, the day Nnamdi Kanu is released is the end of the Nigerian Civil War, and that will be the day the Southeast starts being integrated into the rest of the country. Look at insecurity everywhere. So is this government enjoying insecurity? That their citizens are being killed? Like you were saying something earlier on. Why are our governors in the South not interested? Because the boy will overwhelm everybody. He will be an M.I. Okpara. The people worship the name Nnamdi Kanu in the Southeast because he represents the summary of their struggle from before the Civil War, and thereafter. That's how they look at him. I have stopped going to court because each time I come to court to join him, both of us start crying, and I feel very emotional about it. He's a very brilliant young man that this government is wasting. Would have been a benefit for the rest of us in this country, but this is where we are. This is where we are.
All right, we have girl of defection across the length and breadth of the country, and the PDP seem to be worst hit. Main opposition party, that we see the governors leaving. Yesterday, it was Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State that has defected. What does this imply for democracy?
I must say something. It's one governor I'm very weak at criticizing because he has done excellent work. Since but I haven't seen any governor that passed through Enugu that has done what he has done in under 2.5 years. In fact, when you enter Enugu, you think it's a governor doing his second term. You won't believe he's just doing 2.5 years. All the abandoned projects for Chimaroke, he's almost completing them. almost asphalting almost every road you can imagine in the capital city and some other areas on 2.5 years. So I find it difficult to start to think, why is he moving? APC did not make him. We need the struggle we passed through. So sometimes I ask, they may have reasons we don't know about. It's difficult to want to imagine that somebody is leaving the known to the unknown. If there is anything APC has done, particularly exciting or profitable to the Southeast, then we say, well, that's a good reason. You can't explain, it's inexplicable that you're moving from the known to the unknown. When we were looking for governance, there was APC, it was existing, APC was there. And then you chose PDP for whatever reasons, you convince yourself with. And then having done that, and you won an election on that platform, defeating the same APC and other parties that ran, and then you suddenly wake up to want to go to APC. There must be something sinister about it. And I'm seriously thinking, you start thinking that there must be some, corruptive tendencies going on. Maybe they take some papers to them. And we have a president in this country, people, I don't underrate him. People take Tinubu for granted. I'm one Nigerian who don't take it for granted. If you're dealing with Tinubu and you're sleeping, you must have your two eyes open. Because if you know, as governor of Lagos State, there was nothing 8 years of Babangida, Obasanjo, that was not done to take that state from him. There was a time PDP took the other 5 states, and he fought back again in second election and took them back. He was the only governor who survived PDP, Obasanjo in the Southwest. People tend to forget that because we all have convenient amnesia in this country. He's a man I don't take for granted. In 2003, when we were preparing for the presidential election, I don't need to call names, at a strategic meeting for that presidential election, some people were telling Atiku, you have won, you did this. And halfway Atiku said, "Ship down. I haven't heard you say anything." I said, if I know this is the cluster of people you brought to make you win presidency, then it's a pity. Do you know the person who you are running after? He said, yes, the name is Tinubu, his friend. I said, he has won the election. He finished the election more than 9 months ago. Atiku kept his pen. I said, he finished the election more than 9 months ago, both judiciary everywhere. Finished the election. This is a man who doesn't take anything for granted. Even the wife is married in the house, doesn't take anybody for granted. And people are here talking. He finished the election for 2027, unless God will stop him. Only God can stop him. Okay, look at the disarray, the main opposition party. Look at the disarray we are in. So how do you, in this disarray, plan how to win against Tinubu? Even when a candidate has not emerged, PDP has zoned their presidency to the south. Nobody has emerged yet. The only person who can recrystallize PDP now, if P2B joins PDP, then there's a battle for Tinubu in 2027. If not, it's just an easy walkover.
All right. From all you said, is PDP still strong to go into 2027 election and expect to win?
We have 9 governors. We had 10 governors yesterday morning. Now we have 9. If a party has 9 governors, how many governors had APC when they started against PDP? That's not virtually nothing. What is his name? Muhammadu Buhari lost election 3 times before he came up with the alliance with Tinubu, and they formed APC, and they won. So if our 9 governors are anything serious and sit down to plan, because this is strategic thinking, it is not a function of armchair theoreticians. No, you have to sit down. And do they look like people who are strategically thinking how to face Tinubu if they have not been compromised already? And it explains the spate of defections going on from PDP to APC. This is not the function of people who are serious to take over government. Haven't seen any of them. In fact, look at the election of 2023. The governor of Oyo State gave Tinubu 600,000 votes, and PDP had about under 400,000. So where do you think he's an active, hard-working governor? But that's an indication of why their interest is.
Need to be, people are saying he should come back to the PDP. Why should he come back to the PDP?
Well, what I'm saying is politics everywhere in the world is not a function of statistics in terms of If you look at what is going on in America, if America is not a stable country, Trump had run the place down. America is almost going. In fact, the news in America now is about this lock of what is happening in Gaza. That's trying to give Trump a new beginning. But the disaster in America, his spoken words, you cannot believe this is a country over 250 years in democracy. It all talks like a thug. So sometimes you look at America, you have sympathy for Nigeria. If they are that, horrible at that level, we're emulating them, and you don't see any standards they keep. The only thing that if you see a Democrat, it's a Democrat. You hardly hear this moving from here to there. But the nature of governance is nothing exciting for one to copy. Not when you look at Trump. There's nothing, nothing to talk about.
So what do you think can make P2B excel in 2027?
Okay. Look at this way. In the last election, if I tell you honestly, P2B won that election, 2023. I can privately, authoritatively say so. He had 6.something million votes. Atiku had 6.something million votes. The president won with 8.something million. Even after all the nonsense that happened in Lagos State. And most places in the north, they suppressed his vote. And I did warn him. In fact, about 4 weeks ago, he was in my house in Enugu. I said, nothing has changed. People are prepared to vote for you, but you have to be prepared to take care of them to protect your vote. Because if you don't protect your vote, you're not going anywhere. He's the only one who can effectively and positively challenge this government and win. Because when you listen to him, very brilliant mind, that he said in 2 years you can turn any economy around unless you want to steal. If you're not going to be compromised with all these criminals in government, it's not rocket science to turn this country around, because we have the resources so to do. Yeah? But when borrowing comes up and you don't know where the money borrowed is supposed to, isn't that a sad episode?
And there are those who are wooing former President Goodluck Jonathan to join the fray in 2027.
That shows you how foolish the country is. How did he lose in 2015? They should have asked him. And on an interview with the AIT or channels, I said I met him 5 times as president of Nigeria on his invitation. And on one occasion, I told him that he was going to lose this election. He said, "Dan, if not the respect I have for you, I will walk you out of my office." That his ambassador in China is from Kanu. His ambassador at the United Nations is from here. And that the election is finished. That was the last time I went to his office. Then 2 weeks after, his secretary to government, Pius Anyi, called and said to hell with. And see how they lost, woefully. A man that had governance at Plata. And he just threw it away because he wasn't thinking. And I knew what his problem was then, but I won't say it and they are calling him to come back. Nothing absolutely exciting about him. Even before the result was announced, he had already considered defeat to Tinubu. They are counting it as part of his legacy. That result had not. Have you had anywhere in the world that you can consider only when the result has been announced? He considered defeat. That was why the former deputy governor of Edo State, who was his campaign manager, what's the name of that fellow? Ogadome. Was mad. He was still in the hall where votes were being counted. The president has considered defeat. Called Buhari to congratulate him. It happened in this country. Ogadome was crazy. Saying no, they don't accept. And they told him the person you are working for has considered defeat. He said the result had not been called. So is that the character of person? What did he do? He comes from the south, comes from Bayelsa. Was he able to impress anything on Bayelsa? Instead, they all asking to please some people from some parts of the country they believe own Nigeria. That is the legacy he left behind, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because that's the person they used to destroy Peter Odili's ambition. And it's important you know this because Peter Odili was on the verge of becoming he was the person to have succeeded Obasanjo. He was the person to have succeeded Obasanjo, but I was in that campaign trail going all over the country until something happened somewhere, and they said that they won't put him up. Somebody said, Obasanjo believed that he used his resources with AIT, my late friend Dobesi, and some others to truncate his attempt for a third term. A lot of things happen in this country. And I knew what Peter did, yes. He said, Dan, this will not work. We have taken an oath to try. My brother, if I tell you, why I joined even the People's Redemption Party with Aminu Kano, we stare and look down myself, Aminu Kano, SG Koku, Uche Chukwumerije, and I would say, how can we continue this way? And one day, Aminu Kano was looking at me. I said, sir, I was born in Kano. I regard myself, until recently, I don't feel Kano State as my state of origin. That's what I was feeling. It didn't mean anything to me. And that's where I was born. God would have told me to be born somewhere else, So, but when you look at the level of development and what is going on in this country, nobody cares. So after my interview this morning, the governor called me. He said, please, this thing you're saying might cause a revolution. I said, will it cause a revolution? I hope it will be a positive revolution. That will have 774 local governments and water is not running in one. And you're telling me about revolution? What is a revolution? That millions of our citizens are dying? So do you go to your village to know the problems in various villages in this country? And you see governors move, attending function in their state capital, they are moving with 17, 20 SUVs in the state capital. Under 10 minutes drive, half of the vehicles are empty. All over the country, not just one state, not two, all over. And these are children of very poor parentage that God exposed and brought them up, elevated them to power. All they are thanking God is this kind of, Dubai-oriented kind of lifestyle.
You made reference to third term agenda, but recently, former President Obasanjo denied ever seeking for a third term and even went ahead to say, if anybody has an evidence.
How do you have evidence? Well, he's right to say that because you won't have any evidence. But those who have evidence will not come out to say. But I can come out to say. And he hears what that Dan Ulasi said, if he won't challenge it, because he knew what I told him, that you cannot go ahead with this. And that was why he stopped Peter Odili. Because Peter Odili was accused of using members of the National Assembly to truncate third term. So you can see then what is his name? Nwabara. My people said, that is the period of my people told me not to vote for third term. Because it was in the bill that is being discussed. It was in the bill. My people told me not to vote for this. My people said this. So finally, Obasanjo discovered it was Peter Odili who did that and then truncated his presidential ambition. I have seen things in this country. I was called into the villa that the president wanted to see me. In fact, I was at Arondizog for a burial. The mother of my now late friend, Apple Engineering, Emmanuel Okoro, the mother died. I was at Arondizog. And I was told that Ken Nnaman, then he was president of Senate, wanted to see me at all costs. So when he called, I said, I'm in Arondizog. And the road was so bad from Arondizog coming out to Maya. He said, Dan, you must have to come. That something is spoiling. I said, okay. I took off with my cousin-in-law, Dr. Kam, and we came into Enugu about 9 o'clock in the morning, drove to Ameshokonan, entered Ken Nnamani's house, who was staying there, later Sisiono. I said, what's happening? So Ken sat down, sit down. Each time I come to the villa, I see you. There's something between you and Obasanjo. I said, so my friend, that is, we did one or two things together in campaign. He said they're preparing for a third term. I said, which one is third term? He brought out the bill. So I said, tomorrow let's go to Abuja. So in the morning we all flew back to this place and I went to the villa. So I said, Baba, what is this? Extension, that's something they called it. The house was going line by line. Then it was the former governor of Katsina State that was Speaker of the Federal. Is it Masare? Yeah. They were going, and in that bill, that was the time they put in to create the sixth state in the southeast. That was why people were annoyed. We would have gotten a sixth state to be like other zones, apart from Northwest that has 7. So the Masari was going line by line, approving things they want to approve, and the House was supposed to approve that the sixth state for Southeast. But Ken Nnamdi, unfortunately, I didn't know for whatever reason, the Senate truncated everything. That was how it ended. So Obasanjo had visited Paris and was flying back from Paris to Nigeria. I was in this hotel. My phone rang, it was Olusegun Obasanjo. Because I had told him earlier on that something was being planned, and he denied that he didn't have an idea about Tottenham. Then when he called, he had landed, he said I should come to the villa. That was how, what's the name of that person from Bayelsa that was then acting or managing director of NDDC? Alaibe. Then they promised Alaibe that they will make him governor. That's the money from my brother squandered, and they have wasted it. You see how God works. All the money Andy collected. He has gone election how many times now, and all money gone. Selling their things now. Don't ever doubt what God can do. If God gives you the ability, the opportunity to help your people, try and help them, honestly. We have a situation in this country, we'll give you 1 naira to function. They eat 80 kobo. And they suddenly discover that 20 kobo will not do anything. And they eat the remaining one because nothing will happen. And nothing happens. Nothing happens. This is why I was sad that this young man in Enugu had to leave PDP to go to APC. So what is the reasoning? If you leave A to B, B must be better than A. Is APC better than PDP? At least we'll have a legacy record of debt relief for Nigeria. What 8 years of what is his name, Muhammad Buhari? There was no governor. We're now in the second year. Like I had given credit to this president. If anybody, including P2B, had taken over after Muhammad Buhari, they won't perform any magic. The only thing is probably the person who would have planned better. Before you remove subsidy, you planned and you have a team to anticipate what will happen when you remove it, and you try to find out how to cushion it. But he didn't do that. He just went on after swearing in, I removed subsidy, as if he's talking, giving his wife money for lunch. I removed this. I did this. He don't run government and pages of newspaper. A serious being. Look at where Nigeria is now, almost irreversibly damaging the whole process.
Then there's the breaking news that Bayelsa governor has also defected to the APC. You just counted about 9 governors you still have, so we still have -1.
We'll say -1. Yeah.
Where is it leading us to?
And I was in a meeting. He invited us to a meeting. We went to PDP meeting in the Southwest. He was there speaking eloquently, about where PDP was going and what will happen. This. So this is what I'm telling you, that there are no values anymore. There are no values, no integrity, no honor. So the problem of Nigeria is hydra-headed. It's not just that we are stealing money. It's just like a bishop of a church. On Sunday, they collect money in the church and give him to keep. He is the keeper of the money. He comes into his room midnight, he gets up to go and take some. He forgets that he's the man, he's the banker of the money. He wants to go and take some. Suddenly he will remember again that he's the bishop. This stealing is a genetic problem. So you don't know how to handle it. That is where Nigeria has degenerated to. That anybody gets into office, you just see them, look at them in pictures. You see the magnitude of decoration they make. Go and check who were their fathers and mothers. Their grandparents died poor people. God gave them opportunity to want to remedy the situation with their people. And they eat the money. I was telling somebody, there's a suburb of London called Golders Green. 100 and something houses locked up, all owned by Nigerians. Put me. My principal when I was, my partner when I was active in science and medical equipment said, Dan, is there any school in Nigeria where you people train people how to steal money? Because anybody who makes honest money cannot come and buy a house in London or Dubai, and his people only stay there for 1 month in a year when they come on holidays, and he locks it up. So if you go to Golders Green, you will see a lot of breakups, windows broken, because white people who are hungry go there at night to break them and steal whatever they can. Only Nigerians own such properties. Something must be fundamentally wrong.
Let's look at the state of the nation. Recently, the President Bola Tinubu had the presidential pardon, and so much controversy has trailed that because of the number of drug offenders.
Look at the woman that killed her husband.
Miriam Sanda, think that killed her husband. So all of this, what's your take?
Was that a national priority? That's the only answer I'll give you. A drug baron, a lady who killed her husband, hasn't spent 5 years in prison yet, and you give them pardon. I said there must be a different conceptualization of leadership, of governance, that this man is having. That who is he trying to impress? Well, look, as you said, you rightly said, look at the problem it has elicited in the society. All the drug barons who were bringing in drugs, and our young men and women were taking them and dying. These are the people who are granting pardon. Have they discussed it in whatever form? That these are people who have committed murder. People think it's only when I take a gun and kill you. No, I can kill you by word of mouth, by actions taken or inactions. When every opportunity is a force multiplier. But in this country, opportunities are not force multipliers. They are killers. They are killers. We don't see a government that, like I was telling somebody, when we have programs in the morning, either like Kakaki program, 7:30, 8, governors are sleeping. They don't see that thing we're saying. They are sleeping. And these are the people who are supposed to be addressed. They listen, okay, I do this. I give, what is his name? Former president, what is the one we call that is trying to come back again? Jonathan. It was I had a program on AIT. What delayed me was that Dr. said, come over, let us have a cup of tea. I said, no, the flight going to Enugu, I will miss it. And I landed in Enugu. My phone was ringing. I said, who is this number? This number I don't understand. And I answered. He said, my name is Dr. What is this one that working with the AIT now? He was chief press secretary to Jonathan. Dr. Ruben Abati. He was his chief special advisor media. So he said, my name is Dr. Ruben Abati. I said, where are you Abati from? He started laughing. He said, the president wants to see you. I said, who is the president? He said, Jonathan. I said, want to see me? What for? He said, he just watched your interview and he wants to discuss with you. I said, well, I'm in Enugu now. He said, no, it's not true. Because I just left their office, moved straight to the airport, joined the 10 o'clock flight, and like that, 30 minutes I was in Enugu. He said, no. I said, do you know anybody at the airport? He said, yes, they have security people. I said, tell them I'm still waiting for my luggage. My luggage hasn't come out. So the chief security officer came out, and then I told him what was happening. In fact, they called him. He said that he's in front of Chief Ulasi. And they couldn't believe it. And after that, Jonathan went to Jerusalem. Go and check and see the history of this period. He went for Jerusalem. He stayed 2 weeks. When he came back, they called me again. I came into his office. And I was discussing questions. He says, when you left university, I was in class 2 in secondary school, 1973. So when you look at this is our fate, the fate of over 200 million. Are you people even up to 200 million? A country that tells itself falsehood. If you are married and your wife has 4 children, you know that the first truth you tell yourself is your number of children. That after your children, your wife, then you start thinking of your, if you are lucky, you have siblings with the same parents. This is how you start, distributing whatever resources you have. But a country that begins to tell itself lies about the number of people it has, don't you think that we are in a disaster already? Because we are using numbers to share money. So we have numbers that not. I was telling somebody, if we are up to 200 million in this country, there would have been riots in the streets because there's so much hunger. When we did 1979, Aminu Kanu ran for presidency. I was director of campaign for Aminu Kanu, national director of campaign. So he ran for presidency. We were in his house in Kanu doing calculation how we seize power. So we designated we win about 4 states in the north, 1 or 2 others in the east. I said, okay, that Kanu had then 6.something million registered voters. That if we get 3 million, the most popular human being in northern Nigeria then was Madam Aminu Kanu. We calculated between Kanu, Kaduna, and Borno that what will happen is that we'll have a runoff with Shagari. My brother, Zik had 990-something thousand votes in Imo. alone. In Kano, Aminu Kano had 800 and something thousand with 6.20 million registered voters. And I asked in a meeting, did they lie overnight? SG Koko bent his face. I said, SG, you remember our calculation now? They have in fact told me to look for the ministry I will manage, that they know I'm a revolutionary, where we'll help the poor. I said, we couldn't beat Zeke, the number of votes he had in Imo, with about 3.something million registered voters, 6.something million registered voters. For a popular, loved son of Kano State, we were expecting 4 to 5 million. That they will be voting until it is the money. 800 and something thousand, that's what Aminu Kano had in Kano. Zeke had 900 and something in Imo. Don't you see the dishonesty in falsehood, in saying whom we are? So if you tell yourself the first lie, that you have 10 children instead of 4, don't you see that it doesn't hold?
And then, of course, the outgoing INEC chairman, how would he assess him?
I think was it himself or the one he succeeded that Jonathan did not have a hand in? It was the press people. I think it is this Mahmoud that the press people brought in. It wasn't the party. The PDP didn't nominate him. People were writing in national newspaper. Go and investigate it. Are you a journalist? Go and investigate what I'm telling you. Either himself or what is the name of the one he succeeded? Jega. It's either Jega or himself that the PDP government did not appoint. It was the press people and all these bodies, whatever they answer, that continued this and brought out the name of either Jega or some, whichever one of them. That's how he emerged. So we went on a meeting and I said, in a country where the only way you win is by rigging, people, the ones people vote, we started hearing new languages of glitches. New languages come out when there is problem in Nigeria. You have 2 major elections in a day, one of National Assembly and presidency. The National Assembly is sent, and the other one is caught up with glitches. There were a lot of transformations they proposed. These beavers and that supposedly to help make the electoral process a lot more understanding, a lot more honest, a lot more transparent. But did it achieve that? I doubt if it achieved that. Because the election that brought Tinubu was neither here nor there. Unlike the one that brought, that was a presidential candidate who won, I think, Yaradua, and said that the election that brought him, the election Yaradua was faulty. He said that was the only human being that admitted the dishonesty that brought him to power. But not today anymore. Not today. If you look at my friend, I call him friend, President of Senate, you don't know where he's coming from. That is one that is again very pathetic. I don't talk to him anymore. He sent me one function. Come, I said, don't get closer. Because I remember one night, I was in the villa when Obasanjo was president. 2 a.m. Myself and the former chairman of NOA, and that's Idi Farouk. So by 2 a.m., Obasanjo came out. We were seeing some people. They left. He said, Dan, I said, sir. I said, you'll be the last I will see. I said, okay, sir. He called Idi Farouk. He was finishing with Idi. 2 a.m. Who was walking in? Former governor of Akwa-Ibom State, Victor Atta. Now, Victor Atta had planned for his son-in-law to succeed him. They had finished the primary. But the person who won the primary was now Senate President. What is his name? Akpabio. Quote me on this. The person who won the primary was Akpabio. Okay. How did I know? My friend Chris Uba told me that he had a friend called Akpabio who was working with late Senator Ani Okonkwo. So between himself, this Senate President, and the person now, the Executive Secretary of Southeast Development Commission, Sylvester Okonkwo, 2 of them were there like this. He's the one who put Sylvester in this position now. They were like this. And so Atta made him commissioner in his government. So when they did this primary, he was the one who won the primary. So Chris Uba called me, said, Dan, you know, that time his brother was, Andy was the closest person to the president, but he had problem. They were struggling for something. So he was warned not to visit the villa. So he told me that there's a man called Akpabio who won the primary. You see how God works. So by that 2 a.m., what did you call the name of the governor there? Atta? Is it the one that is an architect?
Yeah, Victor.
Victor Atta. He came in and was briefing our passenger that they had a beautiful primary, that one young man won. I was just laughing. Our passenger says, Dan, why are you laughing? I said, because he's telling you falsehoods, sir. The person who won is one lawyer called Akpabio. That the person he's telling you that won is his son-in-law. Obasanjo just shouted. He said, get me Amadu Ali, who was then our national chairman. He said, I got me to call Amadu Ali by this time. He will kill me in the morning. Then he told Andy to get him on telephone. They got him. He said he was coming to. By 2:30, Amadu Ali was in the villa. Every party that got involved in it are still alive. I'm mentioning names. And then Amadu Ali, President Obasanjo asked Amadu Ali, who won the primary in Akwa Ibom? He says it's what's the name of this Senate president? Akpabio. Not his son-in-law. The one he put his name is his son-in-law. Obasanjo nearly locked him up. If not for immunity, he nearly locked Victor Atta up. Only once, I didn't know once, something happened. Yes, when this investor lost his uncle, we were at Ojoto doing better. And that was the first and last time I met the Senate president today.
Given the little you know about the Senate president, at least from very beginning that you know, how would you assess his performance as Senate president?
It's a disaster. For me, it's a disaster. What has he done that singles him out as a good performer? What has he done? When I remember how, as minority leader in the House representing us, Akpabio, they started charging him for stealing. Then they called him to London. I didn't know who was that. Buhari, I don't know who. They went to London, came back, and moved over to the other party. That's how it started. Is that an honorable position you want me to think of? What do we be doing? They always stamp, rubber stamping whatever the government wants them to do. Have you seen anything extraordinary? Have you seen any serious debate in the National Assembly today in the interest of the common man? If you have, just tell me. I'll be ready to apologize. But I haven't seen, every time you see them. Who was the one who said that anything the man brings, they will approve it? In this country, we have seen a former chairman of Nigerian Labour Congress, a former governor, a former this, who said that if you join APC, your sins will be forgiven. Be an armed robber, come to APC. That's what Oshomole tell Nigerians, told us. And today he's a senator again in Federal Republic of Nigeria. And he said we have hope. There must be a democratic revolution. How it will come, I don't know, but it will come. By the grace of God. That the vision that the Lord gives me, it will come. Nigerians cannot continue suffering this way. In the land of plenty, people are dying everywhere.
In all of this, do you think our democracy is threatened?
Well, if I said threatened is you're being simplistic. There's no democracy. Something that exists is threatened. But if something does not exist, how can it be threatened? There's no democracy. We have civil rule, not democratic practice. What we have in Nigeria is civil rule, changing one civilian to the other. The process of democracy is a very complicated thing. And Nigerians are not in a position to adhere to the rules and processes of democracy. Because people who have become genotypically and phenotypically corrupt cannot run democracy. Democracy is it's just like you're looking at, this is the governor of Delta State is speaking. That is what democracy is. There are two people there. His ADC is standing behind him. They cast a vote. There are 2 votes. But in this country now, they cast a vote. They will write that those 2 people are 20. And somebody who calls himself a neck official will sign that they are 20. If you talk, they will kill you. 2 people. Look at governor. Look at his ADC. There's a vote now. 2 people voted, and they will write it 100. That's what you call democracy.
What is the role of judiciary in all of this?
This is now the Nigerian earthquake. The Nigerian disaster is judicial process. You know, the executive and legislative arms of government hitherto, I thought was the only scandalous aspect of Nigeria. But when you get close to see how judges bargain for, judgments, people are now free even to talk about it. So you see that I don't want to use the word that God will help us, because we are not the only creation of God. If God creates you and you don't want to take care of your life, you'll be heading to hell. It gives you free conscience to see good and bad, and you decide to be on the side of evil, and you're calling him to help you. I doubt if he will. For a man who sent his only begotten son to die for us, what other example do you want him to do for us? If we can't learn anything from that, then it's a pity.
What are the chances for President Tinubu come 2027?
There is no opposition. Look at how we started well by talking about, look at the rate of defections going on. These are the people who would have challenged him. They're all going over to his party. Yesterday, the best PDP governor left too and went over to APC. So who is challenging? So presently now we have an APC government in Enugu, we have in Abakaliki, we have in Owerri. I don't know what Abia governor is going to do. Already Soludo has endorsed Tinubu. He visited Anambra and he endorsed him publicly. But he's afraid of the name of Juku. He doesn't want to jump ship, because he knows if he jumps ship, he could lose his second term election. Nobody knows if he wins next month, he will then jump over in December. You can't trust these people anymore. What will happen? If you heard what he said in his mouth when Tinubu visited Anambra, it was more than euphoric. I was not just sharing that you can go home and forget about we are giving you votes. For somebody who's in Africa, does that mean Africa will now have a presidential candidate? That's a political party with legislators, national legislators and state assembly legislators. They just had a by-election in my zone, Anambra South, and the senator had the person who replaced late Ifeanyiba had 90-something thousand votes. That's what they wrote for him. So imagine what they will write for him as governor when the time next month comes up. So we have fundamental problems.
And if you are given an opportunity, for the sake of argument, if you were to support any candidate for 2027, who will those candidates, that candidate or those candidates be?
Two people. First, Peter Obi.
Why?
He's very intelligent, hardworking, honest, unlike the typical Nigerian politician. If he tells you something is black, day after tomorrow, you ask him again, he will tell you that that thing is black. He's not given to throwing away money for the sake of taking advantage of a political process. Because 1 month ago, he was in my house in Enugu, and we were analyzing, most of these things, the possibility of his winning. Then the question is now that I'm seeing there's a conspiracy of people wanting him either to come back to PDP or to join ADC so that they will make sure he doesn't get nomination. And you can see it's a very high-powered plot, not limited to just the political party. It might be coming from the presidency. Because he's the only person with more than a 50% chance to bring down this government. Without any visible support, he made 6.something million after he won Lagos. Do you know the places he won? Nasarawa, here, he won everywhere. Because Nigerians have started believing that there's something special about this man. It's not the common, literally Nigerian politician who talks from both sides of his mouth. So he's one person who, if well organized, can make an impression. Let me say it that way. Can make a very positive impression to the betterment of Nigerian people. That is one person. Whether Sheyi Makinde can be trusted to do the same, because in the last election, he gave his brother 600,000 votes against Atiku. So what has changed? So I said, how do we all go to sleep and this country collapses? Biafra would, if you were old enough to see what happened in Biafra, look at this, huh? What's wrong with it? If not that God said I should raise my hand somehow. I raised it. So somebody was aiming me from Savoy Hotel next to Zig's compound in Onisha. It was raising this hand that they shattered there. I would have been dead. You know. So each time I say, God, why did you keep me alive? During the war, I said, I will study medicine. And only to get back when I entered medical school. We have first set of medical school in Enugu, and I couldn't do anatomy because these were like this. Look at that now, growing little. It was like this after the war because the nerves, everything here was shattered. If you saw this hand, I didn't know how Dr. Nwozo did this operation during the war. It was difficult to believe. Halfway, the anesthesia finished, and I was just saying, Hail Mary. I don't want to get back into it. So when I see all these people talking, you see, how can a country be moving without hope? With vision, you have to vision and see your vision materialized. How do we do it? When you see the nature of people running the affairs in 36 states, like we said, they are not children of Zik or Awolo, what is. They are common poor people that their parents had no address. Their parents struggled to train them. They suddenly emerged, being legislators, governors, and they went on the rampage. That's what is happening in the country. They went on the rampage.